In this video, I'll show you how you can improve the relationship with your dog. A lot of people don't understand this, but the relationship is actually more important than obedience. So a lot of people make the mistake, right? They get a puppy and what are they focused on? They're focused on all the obedience. They want to teach them all the tricks and teach them all the behaviors and all this. But most people don't understand that the relationship is the most important thing in dog training, right? So even as a dog trainer, I'm here to teach you all the obedience and all that stuff. But obedience, at the end of the day, really what it is it's for you. It's to add convenience to your life, right? Because it's convenient to live with a dog who knows how to hold a downstay and who knows how to recall and all of these things. But you don't actually need any of that fancy obedience stuff for a well-behaved dog that you can take anywhere. You just need the relationship. And a lot of you have probably seen an example of this, right? So for example, you've probably seen some old man with a beard and a flannel and he's walking his lab off leash, right? And the dog just follows him everywhere and it's like the perfect, most well-behaved dog you've ever seen. And the dog hasn't had any formal training. The man isn't a dog trainer, right? He just has a really solid relationship. Maybe he's grown up with dogs all his life, right? He takes the dog everywhere. The relationship is so strong that no obedience is required. And if you don't have the relationship and you try to make the obedience is going to suck. Everything's going to fall apart at some point if you don't have the proper relationship. Or you're going to have a dog who's obedient but doesn't behave. So you can't even trust them inside the house or at other people's houses. You can't trust them not to eat stuff, all of this, right? So the relationship is completely separate from the training. You can use the training to improve your relationship, which we will, but the relationship also encompasses a lot of other things that are invisible to most people. So the difficult thing about trying to make this video is the relationship's invisible. You can't see it. There's nothing I can just tell you to do that will magically improve your relationship, right? But I'm going to do my best to give you frameworks to work within and then give you some practical rules that you can start following and implementing with your dog to help improve this, okay? So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So what is the relationship not? Well, the relationship is not this, okay? It is not this. The relationship is not built on love and hugs and kisses and affection and treats and toys and hot dogs, right? This is not what a healthy relationship is built on, okay? You do not bribe your way into having a strong relationship with your dog. This is not how this works, right? So if the relationship is not built on this, then what is it built on, right? Well, let me give you an analogy here to help you understand what a strong relationship looks like. The easiest way that people can understand what I'm saying here is the relationship between parent and child, right? The relationship between parent and child. That relationship is a good analogy, let's say, for the relationship that you need to have with your dog. Now, it's a little bit different, obviously, because your dog is a dog. They're an animal. So the way you do that is a little different, but it's built on the same principles. Okay, so just like with kids, you do not bribe your way into having a good relationship with your kid. You do not buy them 100 different toys and all the candy in the world and buy them, all this fancy stuff. That's not how you get a solid relationship with your kid. It's not how you do it, right? And it's the same with dogs. You cannot bribe your way into a relationship. Now, a lot of people fall into this trap because maybe they get a puppy and they feel very emotional about it, right? And they spoil the puppy with all of this love and affection and kisses and hot dogs and all this stuff. Or maybe they adopt a dog from a shelter. Maybe it's their first dog and they fall into this trap, especially in the Western world. So here in America, we have this fur baby mindset where your dog's a baby and you should treat them as such, but that is not actually what your dog needs. Your dog doesn't need this, nor do they even want it on a biological scale, okay? What your dog needs is not this, okay? So get this out of your head. All of the hugs and kisses and hot dogs can come later, but that is not what a relationship is built on. What is a relationship actually built on? What are the principles of a healthy relationship? Well, first and foremost, the most important thing in any relationship, human or with dog, it's all built on trust. Okay? Built on trust. That is a key pillar in a healthy relationship is trust. Okay? So what does this all entail? Well, the first thing with trust is I'll just list off a bunch of things. I'll just talk to each point. I think that'll be easier. The first thing with trust is your dog, they undergo like a mental evaluation, the same that we go through. Whenever we're deciding if we should trust something or someone or not, first thing we ask, will this thing do me harm? Will this thing do harm onto me? Okay? If the answer is no, great, right? We might start building that bridge of trust, but that's the very first thing. Will this thing do me harm? Will this thing keep me safe? It's another way of phrasing it, right? So a lot of people unintentionally damage the trust between them and their dog, and they do it without even realizing it, right? So the key, like the first step in earning a dog's trust is keeping them safe and having them understand that you will keep them safe in a variety of situations. And what do most people do? A lot of people put their dog in situations that damages the trust because the dog deems them as unsafe. Let me give you a clear-cut example. You have a dog who doesn't particularly like other dogs. What do? You take him to the dog park. Great. You're destroying the trust that you have between you and your dog in that instance, right? You take your dog to the dog park, or maybe even your dog is usually social with other dogs. Let's say you have a happy-go-lucky golden retriever who loves all dogs, and you take him to the dog park, and he gets ganged up on by a bunch of different dogs. He gets cornered. He feels backed into a corner. He has to fend. He has to fight for himself in that scenario. He's very overwhelmed, very stressed out in this environment. Well, what happened? You put him in a dangerous environment, a situation he deems as dangerous. Not you. He deems it as dangerous. And he learns that you cannot keep him safe in those environments, and you put him into those situations in the first place. So you absolutely destroy your trust in that instance. Let's say, for example, you're walking down the park. You see another dog you're about to pass. You decide, you think it's a good idea to go and say hi to that dog, to let your dogs meet. The other dog snaps at your dog. What happens? You just destroy your trust with your dog. You teach your dog in that moment that you are not capable of keeping him safe. You put him in dangerous situations. So what does your dog learn? Well, my handler can't keep me safe. I have to fend for myself. I have to keep myself safe. I cannot trust my handler. So the very core, a lot of people fuck up because they put their dog in these dangerous situations in the first place. So when we go through the ground rules that I'm going to list here, I'll give you exercises and things you can stop doing to improve your dog's trust. But the first thing you need to do is keep your dog safe. Another component of this is advocating for your dog. And what this looks like is, let's say you're at a park, playing some fetch, playing some tug with your dog. Another dog comes charging in at your dog. What do you do in that situation? What you should do if you're trying to improve your dog's trust, you should have your dog's back. Okay, so other dog is charging in, you fend off that dog. You step in between the dogs. Hey, go, right? You shoo them off. You back up your dog. You're advocating for them, right? Your dog learns in that instance, wow, mom's got my back. She's got this shit handled, right? She can control the environment. She's worrying about the dogs. I don't even have to, right? That's what your dog should be thinking when they're with you. You are that source. You are their protector, right? You manage everything around them, right? They've got everything handled, okay? So that is trust. Another component of trust, right, is think of the people that you trust, right? How can you damage another human being's trust? Well, an easy way to do that is by lying to them. That's an easy way to damage trust you have for somebody. And so a lot of people unintentionally, again, none of this is intentional, they unintentionally lie to their dog constantly. They're constantly lying, right? Tell their dog to come, and then they don't come. Dog learns that you're a liar. You don't actually mean what you say. You just lie all the time, right? And so don't be a liar. We'll talk about the ground rules and everything in just a moment, but trust. Hopefully I've just I've talked enough about this. I think you can get the idea. Trust is important. The next one is respect. Okay? So a lot of people have the issue, a common one, especially in multi-dog households, you'll see this very easily, is I'll have people come to the free evals, for example, they'll bring their dog, and maybe the husband and wife both show up at the free eval. And one problem that we'll hear is, oh, when he's in the backyard, if I tell him to come, if the wife tells him to come, he won't come. But if my husband tells him to do it, he comes every time. So we need to fix that, right? That's a very common issue. Dog respects one owner, but not the other, right? He might trust both, but he only respects one, right? And that's a clear-cut example of respect in training, okay? So trust is very important. You have to have the trust. It's built on trust. You have to have that understanding with your dog. But respect is a different thing. And it's something that you have to earn with your dog through actions, okay? The dog decides if you are somebody worth respecting in the first place, right? I'll give you an easy example. When it's very easy to tell when the dog doesn't respect the handler, when they're doing things like blowing off commands, right? Giving him the middle finger when he tells them to recall, jumping all up on the handler when they don't want them to. The handler, has a difficult time controlling him when he's around other people, all these things. The dog lacks respect for the handler, right? And it's because the handler, the owner, hasn't commanded that respect. They haven't been worthy of that respect. They haven't done anything to earn that respect with the dog, right? And so how can you earn a dog's respect? Well, easy ways to do that are through, I have some notes here. An easy way to do that is the flip of all the mistakes that people make. So saying what you mean and meaning what you say. So when you say something to your dog, do you actually mean it? When you say come, do you actually mean it? Actually? Or are you just saying it? Because when I say come, I'm saying it once and it's happening. When I say sit, it's happening. When I say heel, it's happening, right? There's no other possibility. I'm saying it one time and it's happening, right? It's that energy that you carry about you, right? When I speak, it has weight. Most people, their words have no meaning. Their words have no weight. It becomes white noise to the dog. The dog always hears, Fido come, Fido sit, Fido come, Fido down, Fido here, Fido heel, Fido heel. And the dog just learns to tune everything out because it doesn't matter, right? This is like if you had a kid, let's say you had a kid named Timmy, and you try to get Timmy to clean his room. And you say, Timmy, clean your room. Timmy, clean your room. A day goes by. Timmy doesn't clean his room. You come back in the next day. Timmy, clean your room. Next day. Timmy, clean your room. Timmy, clean your room. What happens? Timmy never cleans his room because you're a liar. He learns to just ignore you. It's like the teacher in Charlie Brown. Right? Like that. That's what your dog is to you. He doesn't respect you at all. He's just learned to ignore you. You've taught him to ignore you, right? So when I speak to a dog, my words have weight. I can give my command quietly and the dog will listen because they know they have to. My words have power behind them, right? I speak sparingly. I do not just constantly talk to the dog all the time, always giving commands. When I speak, there's an intention behind it. And that intention, it has follow through, right? The dog understands that if they listen to the command, there's good consequences and there's bad consequences for not listening. There's both, right? And this brings me to a broader point of the relationship as a whole. But your job as a dog owner is to prepare your dog, is to help your dog coexist peacefully in our human life. So let me give you a human example. If you're a parent watching this, if you have kids and you're watching this video, your role as a parent is to prepare your child to live in the real world. You, the parent, and your partner, right? The parent in the house, the parents in the household, you two are proxies for the real world. Your child interacts with you and through that learns how to interact with the world once they become of age, right? And it's your job to give them the boundaries, the structure, the rules, the consequences, to teach them all the ways a productive human acts in the world. That's what your job is as a parent. And it's the same with dogs. We took dogs that are not from our world, right? They're from their world, and we're bringing them into our world, and we're expecting them to behave, right? Your dog would love to just eat up your couch and piss on your rug and bark at the neighbors and, lunge at that dog. They would love to do all these things. That's why they do it, right? They're self-reinforcing behaviors. Your dog is a dog. But in order to coexist with us peacefully, there are certain rules they must follow, right? So you can't do those things. Even though you're a dog and you want to do those things, you can't do them, right? Because that is not going to lead to a productive, coexisting relationship between dog and human. And if that relationship has tension occurs in the relationship, and there becomes it's a whole mess, right? If you guys are in this program, you probably have an idea of what I'm talking about, okay? So you have to be the person who can give your dog that structure, show them the rules, show them the boundaries of the world, and help them be a dog in our world. Help them be a well-behaved dog that other people deem as well-behaved, right? Help them coexist. You want to set them up for success in our world, right? Okay, trust and respect. Those are the two core tenets of a healthy relationship. Now, we understand that trust is mostly about, ensuring your dog, keeping them safe, meaning what you say, saying what you mean. Respect is about that follow through. It's about the energy that you carry, the way your dog perceives you. That's more respect. So these are two separate things, but you have to have both in the relationship if you want to be successful, okay? And an easy way to sort of, visualize all of this stuff is through the child-parent relationship dynamic, because a lot of you guys can relate to that, okay? So everything I'm saying, you can see it through that lens. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about your energy that you need to have as a dog handler, okay? So your energy is very important. Your energy is the way you carry yourself. It's the way your dog sees you. It's the energy, the influence that you have over them, right? The way you are, okay? So here's the energy that you need to have. You need to have a combination of a lot of different traits. So I'm going to do my best to outline those for you here. So I'll just make a line here, and then down here I'll say energy. So your energy, there are going to be a lot of contradictions here, right? So you need to have some big boss energy, all right? So you are the leader of the house. This is your house. These are your rules. Your dog is following, you're bringing your dog into your house, in your life, and they are to follow your rules that you set, right? This is just like with kids. Your kids do not just run the house, right? If you have a 10-year-old, your 10-year-old isn't allowed to just do whatever they want, whenever they feel like it, destroy stuff, all of this. They follow your rules because you are the leader of the house, because the world has rules, and you are a proxy for helping them learn how to follow those rules so they can be successful later on in the real world, right? So you have to have that big boss energy about you, okay? You have to have that energy. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to put into words, but it's that feeling. You know what I mean? And you also need to have the energy of a leader, because you are the one who has to show the dog how to coexist in this human world productively. So you have to lead them through that. You have to give them the structure. You have to give them the guidance. You have to show them the consequences, both good and bad. Both are important because, again, like a lot of people would like to not believe, if the dog misbehaves in the real world, there are bad consequences. So you have to prepare them for that in the training, as you're raising them, as you live with them, right? You have to be prepared to do that. You can also think of another helpful mental framework is thinking about you and your dog as a team unit, All right? You guys are a team, partnership, a duo, and you guys go through the world together as a team. You guys go explore, go on adventures, go on walks, runs, bike rides, whatever. You guys go do cool stuff, see cool stuff. It's great. But you are the team captain, right? As the team captain, you must have authority over your team members in order to ensure you are being successful, right? This is like the captain of a ship, right? The captain of the ship has to have authority over all the crew to ensure the ship, you get to where you need to go, right? So that's another way to think about it. You, at the same time, you're their favorite person. So they love being with you. They love mom, they love dad. Everything good happens from mom and dad, right? You spend lots of cool, fun stuff with them. You do lots of cool stuff. You go cool places. But you are also a force to be reckoned with. And I looked up the exact definition of this, and it's perfect. A force to be reckoned with is a powerful person or thing that must be taken seriously when faced or dealt with. And that's perfect, right? And a lot of you guys can probably relate to this if you had parents, right? If you had parents who were like this, you understand what I'm saying, right? You love your parents, do lots of cool stuff together, but you also take them seriously, right? They're not a joke to you. Your parents aren't a joke, right? You know what I'm saying? You take them serious when you're facing them. And that's the energy that you need to have with your dog. You're serious. You're not this clown, right? You're not, what operation are you running here? Are you running, like a military, or are you running a circus? Which one is it? If you're running a circus, your dog's gonna act like a clown, right? They're all gonna be misbehaved, running wild, going loose. If that's your deal, whatever. If you're running the military, you're gonna have a soldier. You act like a drill sergeant, you're going to have a soldier, right? And so the energy that you carry is very important. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever be goofy and talk to your dog in baby voices. I'll do all that stuff too. But the energy that you have, I'm trying to convey it to you guys, okay? Hopefully you get what I'm saying. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some basic ground rules that you need to start doing today or stop doing today to improve the relationship with your dog. And they all fit in these categories here. All right, so some basic ground rules. Rule number 1, probably the most important rule that you guys need to stop doing right now if you are, is, here, let me just write out ground rules. All right. Stop unproductive social interactions. All right? Ground rule number 1, stop unproductive social interactions. What does this mean? Well, an unproductive social interaction, let me give you some examples. When you're out on your walk at the park, you're walking your dog, you see another dog approaching. The owner of the other dog says, "Oh my gosh, can they say hi?" Or you're walking your dog, let's say you have a particularly cute dog, and someone comes up to you, "Oh my gosh, your dog is so cute, can I pet your dog?" There we go. 2 examples, easy. Unproductive social interactions. There is no reason ever your dog needs to say hi to a strange person or a strange dog. No reason at all. Okay? So stop doing it today. No more saying hi to other dogs when you're out on walks. No more letting random people come up and start touching your dog. No more of that stuff. Why, you might ask? Because one of 2 things is going to happen from that social interaction. Either they're going to have a positive experience or they're going to have a negative experience. Either of which is completely counterproductive. Why is it counterproductive? Well, if your goal is to have a neutral dog, a dog who just walks past other dogs and ignores them, a dog who just walks past people and ignores them, you do not want them to have a positive or negative association with strangers. These strange people and strange dogs are simply neutral. They just are. The dog is just a dog. The person is just a person, right? And for whatever reason, People get really caught up in this with dogs specifically, but they understand it with kids. Let me give you a child example. It would be very strange, very, very strange, if your child, say they were like 4 years old, when you were walking at the park, wanted to go say hi and play with every single stranger they saw. That would be very bad, right? That is not healthy. That is not good socialization. That would be bad, right? That's having a positive association with strangers and the environment and stuff. Or every single dog they saw, they wanted, and they just run over to the dog, right? Not good. Very, very not good, right? Now, equally not as good is if your child was 4 and they were mortified by other strangers. They saw a stranger and they were just terrified by it. Saw a dog, terrified, right? At all times. That would also be not good, right? In human terms, we understand this perfectly. Like obviously, right? Your 4-year-old should just be able to walk past strangers, no problem. That would be great, right? That's normal. With dogs, for whatever reason, we think it's okay to just let a bunch of strangers come in and start touching your dog. Very strange. We think it's normal for your dog to just say hi to every single dog that they pass. Very strange, right? This is not normal. This is not healthy socialization. Healthy socialization is a dog who is able to be neutral towards strangers and dogs, doesn't pay them any peace of mind, right? Sees them, no problem. And then if they did engage, they'd know how to, right? Simple as that. So stop unproductive social interactions if you want a neutral dog. Both of those instances, by the way, the positive association and the negative association, will likely lead to a reactive dog, either of which, right? So I have absolutely dealing with many right now, more than 2 cases where we are dealing with happy, go-lucky dogs who love every dog, love to play with every dog, not an aggressive bone in their body, but every single time they see a dog out on a walk, they freak out. They start lunging at them and pulling on the leash and barking and showing all this aggressive behavior when if they met, nothing happens, right? They're just meeting and they want to play and all that stuff. What that is the dog is seeking out that positive reinforcement. They were reinforced, they self-satisfied by engaging with that thing, the other dog or the other person, and now they're seeking those things out in the environment, okay? So that leads to a reactive dog. On the flip side, let's say you let your dog meet a dog on leash, gets attacked by the other dog, seen this happen, and then now all of a sudden your dog goes into defense mode because now they're like, oh shit, every time I see a dog, he's gonna attack me, so I need to go in defense mode. Your dog sees a dog, they start barking. Roof, 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 roof. What do? You pull your dog away. The other owner pulls their dog away. Your dog doesn't have to deal with the interaction. Whew, just saved myself, right? Your dog is like, whew, that worked, good thing, that worked, I'm gonna keep doing that. Because you ruined your trust with your dog, and now your dog thinks they have to fend for themselves, okay? So stop unproductive social interactions. This also includes, walks, with strangers and all that. It also includes dog parks, and it also includes daycare, okay? So no more dog parks. If you guys are still going to dog parks, stop doing that immediately, okay? No dog parks. Why no dog parks? The reason why no dog parks is because they sound good in theory, right? In theory, they sound good. You let your dog go there, they can play, explore, all this stuff. In reality, dog parks are full of under-exercised, over-aroused, overstimulated dogs who have no rules, no obedience, no relationship with the handler, completely out of control, and it's just this free-for-all mosh pit of insanity inside the dog park. And so that is a perfect way. If you want your dog to build bad social habits, if you want your dog to get attacked by another dog eventually, because it will happen eventually if you go there enough, if it hasn't happened already to you, it will. Your dog will get attacked eventually, they'll build a negative association with dogs, they'll turn into a reactive dog, or they'll be able to just go in dog park frenzy mode and just go insane for however long they're there. And then every time you're out on a walk, guess what they do? They freak out whenever they see another dog because they think it's dog park time, right? So stop dog parks immediately. This is also a good place to catch diseases and stuff for your dog as well. So no dog parks, ever, okay? Daycare. Stop taking your dog to daycare. I've met more than a few clients who claim that daycare is the only way we can get the dog's energy out. You know, after they go to daycare, they come back and they're so much better. The reason they claim this is it's almost like an addiction that the dog has. The dog is like addicted to this drug until they get their fix, and they get their fix and they calm down, and they get crazy again, and then they get their fix and they calm down, right? And it's this terrible cycle where if you just pull your dog out of it, it is so much healthier for the dog mentally, because most daycares, what they are, is they're just glorified dog parks. They're dog parks that you pay money for because they're inside and you have some people watching your dog. That's pretty much what it is. But it's this nonstop free-for-all. Your dog goes in a crate for a small amount of time a day, and then they come out and it's just a free-for-all again. No daycare, okay? Stop doing that immediately. Play with your dog. Become the person that your dog wants to interact with, right? Become that for your dog, right? Don't let your dog, like, why did you get a dog in the first place? Why? Well, you got a dog because you want to be able to go places with, do cool stuff together, and have fun together. So why did you get a dog to just let them have fun with a bunch of other dogs and let strangers pet your dogs and all that? That's not why you got a dog. You got a dog for that relationship between you, and your dog craves that human relationship too. So don't neglect it, right? So stop the daycare. Now, the exception here is if you have a really good daycare, which are few and far between, where the dogs are all kept separately, they come out for one-on-one time with the handler, they do a play session, maybe a little mini training session, and then they get kept up again, right? Something like that. That's a good daycare. Most daycares aren't like that. Most are just glorified dog parks. Okay, so stop unproductive social interactions. They lead to two possibilities, either of which are counterproductive to the training, okay? Now, I'm not saying that your dog can never meet a new person. I'm not saying that your dog can never meet a new dog. I'm not saying your dog can never play with other dogs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's no point in letting your dog meet stranger dogs or people. It's only going to be counterproductive, okay? All right. Next rule. All right, next rule. Don't let your dog do anything that makes you dislike them, okay? Remember how I said earlier about how your dog, you're taking them from their world, bringing them into our world, and it's your job to serve as a proxy for the real world and to give them the boundaries and structure that they need to thrive and coexist peacefully with us, right? Well, don't let your dog do anything that makes you dislike them, okay? So this can include things like jumping up on people, right? For me personally, this is a big one, right? It really bothers me if I see my dog jump up on another person. Like, it really does. You know what I mean? I really don't like it. Even if the other person doesn't like it, I do. It really bothers me. Let's say my dog is counter surfing, right? He jumps up on the counter and is looking for food, right? That really bothers me. Let's say he's reacting at another dog. Really bothers me, again. So don't let your dog do anything that makes you dislike them. In that moment, you have to address the behavior, right? You have to fix that behavior immediately in the moment and not let it slide, okay? And you will learn how to change behaviors and alter behaviors, punish behaviors, reinforce new behaviors and all that later on in the training. But what you need to do now, don't let your dog do anything that makes you dislike them, okay? This can go for anything. Just use this as a general rule, okay? This can include things like demand barking, for example. Demanding affection is another example, right? Don't let your dog do that stuff. The reason for it is you're there to serve as a proxy for your dog, how to coexist in the real world peacefully. And if your dog is doing stuff that makes you dislike them, other people are definitely going to dislike it, right? So nip it in the butt as it is. There's also another reason for this as well, and that is if you allow your dog to continue doing things that make you dislike them, your human emotions are going to start coming into play, and you're going to end up resenting your dog, which is not healthy for a good relationship. Not healthy at all, right? You can imagine this is like the same with kids. Let's say your kid is like constantly throwing temper tantrums all the time, and instead of addressing it and fixing it right then and there, you ignore it. And then what happens when a few minutes later your child is, proud of something, they want to show you something? What are the odds you're going to give them what they need in that moment and positively reinforce that behavior? Odds are close to none, right? So, yeah, quick example there, okay? Don't let your dog do anything that makes you dislike them. If it makes you dislike them, fix it, all right? Next up. No free access, okay? No free access. The first thing that we do when we start training is we start restructuring everything. We restructure the relationship, we restructure the walks, we restructure the environment inside the house. Everything starts changing in the dog's world, okay? And an easy way to do this is limiting the dog's access to everything inside the house first. So, give you an example. Inside the house, your dog shouldn't have free access to toys. Right? This is a good one. Let's write this down. Toys, right? Food, surfaces, rooms, right? All of this stuff, etc. Okay, you can use your imagination here. What does this mean? Your dog shouldn't have toys laying all over the house. Okay? A lot of people wonder, why doesn't my dog like playing with toys? When we go outside and we play together, he just gets distracted and he just wants to go smell around and chase that dog and all this. Why does he want to play with me? Well, it's because probably you have toys laying all over the place. There are toys everywhere, all the time. The dog's got toys in his crate. Toys, he got a toy bin. He can just go anytime and grab something from, right? Toys become not valuable. They're everywhere, right? The dog doesn't care about them. They're free. They're not a valuable resource, right? And so limit all the toys. Take all the toys off the floor. Pick them all up right now. If you're watching this video, pause. Go and pick up all your toys. Put them up somewhere where your dog can't get them. From here on, toys are between you and your dog only. Only. If you're not there, your dog doesn't have a toy. There's no toys out. Toys happen between you. It's an interactive thing between you and the dog, okay? The dog isn't just playing with toys by themselves in the corner. It's not what's happening, okay? Interactive. You're going to use that to improve your relationship with your dog and create that working relationship that we want. Food. You're not free feeding your dog. Don't just leave food out for them all the time. Use it to your advantage to create the relationship you want. You want that nice working relationship where the dog wants to work with you and you guys are a strong team that work together. Use the food in the training. Instead of feeding the dog in a bowl, how about you scoop the food and put it in your treat pouch and use that as training, right? Maybe you have a picky dog who doesn't particularly like food. Do that. Put it in your treat pouch. Use it only for training. The first couple days, your dog probably isn't going to take food. They're not going to eat. Right? Because they're going to be holding out for the hot dogs or the string cheese or whatever you've been using. And so you can just use the kibble. Give them frequent opportunities whenever you're training. If they don't eat, they don't eat. Right? They don't get any rewards that training session. Just affection and praise, whatever. And then a couple days go by. 3 days go by. 4 days go by. Your dog will definitely start taking the kibble and you'll notice their food drive start building. They want to work for it, right? No free access to food. No free access to surfaces or rooms. So no just jumping up on the couch whenever you feel like it. No just running into the bedroom. No just running out the door, right? You have no free access to stuff, okay? So eliminate all the access, pick up all the toys, fix the food situation. No free access to the rooms and all that, okay? Next up. Structure. I'll actually make this a rule. Freedom is earned. All right? Freedom is earned. It's not something that's given. Okay? Freedom is earned. So what does this mean? If your dog is not perfect, if they're not perfect inside the house, meaning They don't destroy anything. They're calm. They're relaxed. They always listen. They never get in trouble. They just relax and are calm and are perfect. Then you don't need to listen to this. They're fine inside the house. Totally cool. If they're not, if they're anything but perfect, you're going to start restricting their freedom because you gave them too much freedom without them having to earn it. They're not ready for it yet. Okay? So, how to do this? Crate or place. Okay? If your dog, general rule of thumb here, if your dog is under a year of age, keep them in the crate when you're gone and on a place board when you're home. Okay? If your dog's under a year of age, just general rules of thumb here. In the crate if you're gone, on a place when you're home. All right? If your dog is older and they're exhibiting behavioral problems outside the house, inside the house, then you're going to stick to this as well. Crate when you're gone, place when you're home. All right? And you're going to get this routine going. You can do this for the next 4 weeks as you're going through this training program. Crate home, place home, crate when you're gone. All right? And that's it. You're going to release the dog from the place when you go out on walks, when you go do training sessions, when you go do play sessions, where you're giving them that one-on-one time. But inside the house, there are one of two places, place board or crate, and that's it. No freedom inside the house. Why are we doing this? We do this because they have not earned their freedom. They have proven that they're not mature enough to handle that responsibility. Just like with kids, you do not leave your 5-year-old home alone. You don't do it. They haven't earned that responsibility yet. They can't handle it, right? You have to give them slow, incremental steps, and they have to prove to you that they can handle that responsibility. So how do you do that with dogs? Well, in the beginning, we just manage, right? So just crate, place, that's it, okay? Just like with kids, when they're 1, 2 years old, what do? We manage, right? We just keep them in a crib. And then when they can crawl around and stuff, what do? We have things like play pens, and we baby-proof everything, right? Make sure all the things are taped up and stuff. Make sure there are no wires hanging all over the place. You have these play pens, and then you have the soft mats, and you keep them in there when you can't supervise them, right? If you let them out, you're supervising them, and so on, right? You manage them because you don't trust them. You don't expect them to be able to make good choices yet. Same with dogs. We just manage, okay? Once you're like, okay, my dog is doing really good just on the place, right? They just come in, they just relax immediately, no problem with the crate. They just go in there and chill. Everything's really good inside the house. They're perfect. Now let's go ahead and see if they can handle a little bit more freedom. So what do? You use a leash. In the house, you clip them on a leash. You just have them drag the line around, just like a light, like thin nylon leash or something like that. Just have them drag it around, and then just see what they do. Just see. This is supervised. So they're maybe on the place, you say, okay, you release them, and then they're just walking around the house. Watch them. What are they doing? Do they just walk, kind of roam around? Do they just lay down somewhere and just relax? If so, very good. Just monitor them. Make sure they don't get into anything, but just watch that carefully, right? Maybe they sit there, they take a nap for like an hour, then they get up. Maybe you release your dog and they start pacing all over the house. They start pacing, looking for something to do, something to do, something to do. This is how my dog was, right? Border collie, high energy, high intelligence, right? They're always looking for something to do, right? And so if I see that sort of behavior, the all over the place behavior, place. Can't handle it yet. It's totally okay. Dog's just not ready for it yet, and that's totally fine. Every dog is a little different, right? I've seen some golden doodles, right, where they're able, like at 5 months old, just to chill inside the house, and they're super chill just all the time. For my dog, he was like over a year before he was able to just chill inside the house and do nothing, right? That was very difficult for him. Every dog is different, okay? So, but the same principles apply. Freedom is earned. You give the dog slowly controlled, more levels of freedom, increasingly amounts slowly, and you monitor them, and you see if they can handle it. If they can handle it, great. Give Give them a little bit more. If they can't handle that, just bring it back. It's all good, okay? So freedom is earned, not given. Okay, next up. Your dog isn't a baby. Okay? Your dog isn't a baby. What I mean by this is like for some reason, people treat their dogs like 6-month-old human babies, right? They talk to them in these baby ways, and they interact with them in these baby ways, and it's very strange because your dog is a dog. Your dog doesn't need to be treated like a baby. They don't need that. They don't want that. They don't crave that. Your dog needs a leader, someone who's calm and collected, someone who can take them through stressful situations, right? Someone who they can depend upon. That's what your dog needs. They need someone who can give them those rules and that structure and hold them accountable. They don't need someone to baby them, okay? This includes all of these things that people say. Here's dog trainer pet peeve here, right? Dog trainer pet peeve. I hate when people say things like, are you going to be good today? Are you going to behave today? Are you going to listen? Right? They recall. Oh, he usually recalls. He usually listens to me. I hate stuff like this. It's the biggest pet peeve of mine because there is no maybe. There is no are you. There is no question, right? This is not a question when you're interacting with your dog like this. When you are giving your dog a command, it's not an ask. It's a command. Right? You're telling your dog to do this, and they are going to. Your dog is going to behave, period. They are going to recall. There's no in between, right? Your dog isn't a baby. Don't baby them. Give them what they actually need, okay? Let's see. What else here? So, manage it first, must only training. Yep. Here's a good one. Okay, next ground rule. Shut up. All right? A lot of people are just always talking to their dog all the time. Constantly talking. Just like you're outside on a walk and they give their dog all these commands, and like the dog has no management because you're not following this rule, right? So the dog has no management at all, and they're just yelling out the dog's name, right? Fido, 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 Fido no, Fido no, Fido Fido good, 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 right? They're just always talking, and their words aren't even backed by anything. It's just words. It's just white noise to the dog, right? Stop talking. Shut up. Stop saying your dog's name so much. Stop just always blabbering, right? When you speak with intention. Your dog will learn to listen to you. They learn that when they hear their name, something important is about to happen, and they can't miss it. It's important, right? That's what you need. So shut up. Your words have weight. Don't poison your words, okay? An easy tip to fix this is pretend your dog is deaf, right? This is a helpful exercise, okay? If you think you're talking to your dog too much, pretend your dog is deaf. How would you communicate with them differently? Because it's important to remember, too, that dogs are more nonverbal than they are verbal. When dogs are communicating with each other, they're not roof, 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 roof. How is your roof, 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 right? They're not doing that. They're looking at each other. And through subtle changes in body language and eye contact and movements, all of these things are being communicated. And we as humans are trying our best to communicate to them verbally, which is difficult for them. It's not as easy as nonverbal. And so don't poison it. Don't poison it, right? Because it's difficult to communicate to them nonverbally, so don't ruin it by always talking. So shut up, train your dog as if they were deaf. It's just a helpful framework, right? This doesn't mean don't talk to them ever, but you get what I'm saying, okay? All right, next up. This is the last rule. All right, satisfy your dog mentally and physically. All right? Your dog is an animal with requirements, just like people, right? And if you're not satisfying your dog mentally and physically, there can be certain issues that will arise and the training will suffer because of it. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain to you what this is. So mental satisfaction is when your dog is able to work their mind, when they're able to think, when they have to concentrate and work for something and problem solve, and they just have to be active mentally, right? It's not mindless. That's important, and it varies depending on the type of dog you have. So for example, I have a border collie, very intelligent breed, right? The more intelligence your dog has, the more you're gonna have to satisfy them mentally, right? Because they have to think, they have to problem solve, they have to work because of the job that they've been bred to do, right? Border collies obviously have been bred to think independently, away from the handler, and make those decisions right on their own, to think. And so you, understanding that the type of dog you have to satisfy that component in them genetically. And so to satisfy your dog mentally, an easy way to do that is by following this training program. And you follow the training program and you start training your dog this obedience at a high level around lots of competing motivators, lots of distractions, and you start getting out there and working with your dog and demanding that they concentrate mentally. It's very difficult for a lot of dogs, right? That's challenging mentally. They have to think, they have to focus, right? That's difficult. So that's a good way, it's a good place to start. Another good way to satisfy your dog mentally is through things like teaching them tricks, right? You have enrichment things, like you can, give them a bully stick, have something to gnaw on. That's a little tiring mentally. Things like this, right? Just satisfy your dog mentally. And you can have them solve, have little puzzles like scavenger hunts and stuff, hide things in your house. You can do all this stuff. I like doing this with puppies, not so much adult dogs. Mentally as well, you can get them to work their nose, work their other senses, right? So an example of something that I do with my dog is we'll go outside at nighttime and I'll throw the ball into some trees, into some foliage where you can't really see the ball or where it went. And then I'll call him away. So he has to turn his back away from the ball where I threw it so he can't see it. And then I'll throw it and then I'll release him. I'll say, go find your ball, right? And then he has to go find it and search for it using his nose. And that's very tiring mentally for the dog as well. Right, so these little things, right? You guys can be creative with this. Figure out, use your breed. Maybe you have like some dog who's specifically bred for hunting scents with their nose, right? So maybe you can do more scent work with them, right? Just get creative with them. Figure out what you want to do with them, all right? And physically, make sure your dog is meeting their physical energy requirements on a daily basis. So, for example, my dog Border Collie, again, right? Very high energy dog. Requires a lot of exercise on a daily basis, and so we make sure to get him out for at least one good exercise session every day, right? So that includes like a good fetch session, play session, tug session, obedience, all wrapped up in there, right? Every day. It's a daily thing for us. Now, your dog may not have to do a daily intense exercise session like that every day, unless you have one of these higher energy breeds, okay? So it all depends on your dog. So do some research on your dog and your individual dog as well, because every dog's different. I've met border collies who, are actually very lazy. Okay, so it all depends on the individual as well as the breed. Okay, so those are some ground rules here, and I made these ground rules to just give you an idea of the way you interact with your dog, right? Like. And these here, right? Like say what you mean what you say, become a force to be reckoned with, become someone who can command your dog's respect, make sure your energy is correct. All of these things are trying to describe an invisible force, which is the relationship. It's how the dog perceives you in their life. Who are you to your dog? Are you just this liar, this idiot at the end of the leash who just she just says all this stuff and I don't ever have to listen, right? And everything he says doesn't matter, right? Are you that person? Or are you someone that your dog respects? Someone that your dog loves to interact with, but also respects, right? When you speak, your dog listens, right? That's what you want, okay? So hopefully this gives you a good idea of a good place to start. Hopefully you can start channeling some of this energy in to your living situation with your dog, because if you don't, the training will suffer. You have to change to change. If you keep acting the same way you've always have with your dog, you're going to get what you've always got, Okay, so start changing your behavior, change the way you interact with them, change the way they perceive you, and you will see the results because of it. All right? So follow these rules, adapt it, work on your relationship with your dog. I'll see you in the next video.